They will look right past you unless you're eccentric.
Not if you're wearing those heels.
That's right. This is so weird. Okay, it looks on Facebook. On my computer, it looks like we're live. Now we are officially live. And
Right.
I'm going to share it again just in case it gets lost. And I'm also going to tap record on my computer because when it acts weird, anything could go wrong. It's like Murphy's Law morning here in Vegas.
Yes, yes.
Facebook, we got something for you today. Comic Spot was created by me so I could vet out veterans of comedy. Well, today we get to interview a veteran of the Air Force. And when I say veteran, I don't mean chintzy 3 years in the Army like me veteran. I mean 20 years in the Air Force. Ah! Give it up for your new interviewee sitting here today. The new interviewee, the latest, the most recent, today's special, Chris Crawford. Hi, Chris.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, Facebook. I'm Chris Crawford. I'm out in West Texas, actually San Angelo to be specific. I've been doing comedy for about 5 years. I've had a chance to do an awful lot of stuff and work with a lot of people. And one day I hope to be the kind of person that other people say they got to work with Chris Crawford. So yeah, let's have a conversation.
Let's do this. So, Chris Crawford, talk to me about you as a little boy. Where did you come from and grow up? And then let's talk about you getting into the military and then getting into comedy.
All right, I grew up in Caruthersville, Missouri. I talk about that place because it's in the Boot Hill. There's not a whole lot going on there, and usually people that want a future, they grow up, they go to college, or they go to the military, but they do anything they can to get out of there. I will tell you that when I was a real small child, I watched 2 cartoons every morning before school. I watched the G.I. Joes and the Transformers. Turns out being a Transformer was not an option, so I became a G.I. Joe. I joined the United States Air Force, and I took quite the ride, all the ups and downs and all the things that come with a career. But I knew that I wanted to join, and I wanted to be for the long term because that was the future I was making for myself. And fast forward 20 years later, now I'm retired and I'm teaching the next generation how to do what I do because I teach at Goodfellow Air Force Base.
Thank you for your service. That means so much to me.
And I tell people every time I hear that it's an honor. And I do appreciate it. It's given me a great life. And I feel like I've done something really worthwhile. Towards the end of my career, when I started teaching, I really wanted to learn how to do something outside the classroom once I learned how to do some public speaking, and stand-up comedy was that vent, and it took me places, and it has caused me to both laugh and cry, but I love the journey, I love the ride, and I love to see smiling faces, and any chance I get to do that, that's the payoff for me.
Absolutely. You know, I do these interviews as if we're sitting down at a coffee shop and we start talking and realize we have things in common. So it's a relaxed little atmosphere here. I'm not Barbara Walters, but I dream of being her, but being a little bit funnier than her, just a little funnier than her. I love asking questions. So when you were a little child, you know, did you dream of being a G.I. Joe? How young were you? Because I used to play with the G.I. Joes.
No, I think that the GI Joes were my primary little toy I played with. I made them fight. I made them shoot each other. I made them wrestle like they were WWE. When I ran around outside, people played cops and robbers, or they played soldier. I had little sticks that were V-shaped or whatever, you know, because I didn't have a lot of toy guns, but I, by God, made every stick that fell out of a tree turn into a gun, and we teamed up, and at some point you grow out of running around shooting each other with pretend guns, but that's kind of the early on. I remember the characters. I mean, you had Duke, who was the leader of the GI Joes. You had Sergeant Sergeant Slaughter. You had all the people. But the real thing is I tuned in, and I didn't know what type of GI Joe I'd be, but I did know that I'd joined the service, and I don't think that there was any doubt from when I was a small child to when I graduated high school what I wanted to do. And as I graduated high school, I realized that it was a real way to have a future and break away from the life that I had.
Yes, absolutely. It does give you a better life. It does. It really does. It makes you a better person in the planet, a better person to other people. Just so many benefits to being in the military. And you were committed to it for 20 full years, plus now after retiring.
Yes, absolutely. And it's weird. I'll go ahead and say, because I think it's interesting. 20 years in 10 days. It's very much like a marathon runner when they are like, I ran 26 miles. No, you ran 26.2. Those 10 days, it's a thing. No, but no, upon retirement, I couldn't get enough of it. I have a chance to teach the next generation. And my favorite job in the Air Force during my entire career was the last 2 years I spent where I was teaching as a teacher, standing in front of these people who were starting the process. And from when I started 20 years ago, I sat in those chairs and I listened to somebody, and I was starting my career and trying to figure out how to just get a positive start. And seeing that in these guys and helping them jumpstart their career is super fulfilling for me. And I was able to stick around and continue doing that, just no longer wearing a uniform. And that's really cool for me.
Wonderful. Now you're involved in comedy. How long ago did you start comedy?
I'd probably say in the fall of 2015, I started comedy. I had just read Howie Mandel's book, and I was currently going through I was currently teaching here, and teaching here was the first time I'd really ever done any public speaking. So I had to learn how to do that. Then I had to learn how to stand in front of a class of 16 people. Then next thing you know, I'm talking to 200 people and then running large ceremonies. And I'd become comfortable with that. And I wanted to try to do it outside of the realm of the classroom. And surprisingly, after being comfortable talking in front of 300 people, stand-up comedy can make you really uncomfortable. And it was a chance to hit the reset button and learn a new skill and become comfortable doing what I do, but in a completely different way.
Yes. Now, at what age were you when you decided you were funny and it might be a path for you? And also on the flip side, if you would hold two thoughts in your head to cover for me, I'd appreciate it. How young were you when you realized it? How young were you when other people started telling you you should start doing comedy? Where did that play?
It's a very tricky question because I'll tell you, nobody has ever told me I should do comedy. Not until I started doing comedy, because I would say that I've been straight laced and made all the responsible decisions and all the boring decisions that anybody would ever make. And I was not a public speaker until I was almost into retirement. So I would say that I don't know that I was ever funny until I started teaching. And then that's just because I was trying to find interesting ways to convey really boring information. And
Exactly.
that's where I had a chance to stand out. So I don't know that I grew up telling jokes or a class clown or anything like that. But when you stand in front of 16 people every day for 8 hours a day, you have to try and find a way to make things interesting. And I started to get good at that. And that inspired me to think about trying comedy. And I went way away from my city where nobody would know me or recognize me in any way. I traveled 300 miles to go to an open mic in Austin, Texas. I didn't vomit. I didn't pass out. I didn't die. Some people laughed and chuckled, and it was really, really cool. And in San Angelo, we didn't really have a comedy scene. There was no clubs, there's no open mics, there's no format for it. So I called around. I tried to see if I could get anybody to bite on an open mic, and nobody would. They're like, no, we don't want that. But there's a coffee shop here, a trendy coffee shop. They said, we do want this, but we have a older, more Christian type clientele. So you're going to have to keep it completely clean, whatever you bring in here. So I did that for a while, and we were packing that place out. My students, as unethical as that sounds, but mostly my students, they were coming out to see if their teacher was going to say something crazy. And then I bounced over to the back of a music shop here in town. They had a venue where they set up concerts, and it held about 60 people. And they took the cuffs off, and then a lot of comedians wanted to start coming to play because they didn't want to play when we had to keep it clean. But when we could let them say whatever they wanted to say, that was good. So we ran stuff out of the back of a music store for about a year and a half. And then we started opening up with other opportunities with bookers and agents and more downtown bar style comedy. But we do not have a comedy club per se. So I travel around to other West Texas cities. I feed them, they feed me. And that's kind of how we all grew up. And I am very jealous of people that say that they can do five open mics a night or go to 6 shows a week. But at the end of the day, like in West Texas, there's 7 shows total, and I have to drive 3 hours to get to that one, and 2 hours to get to that one, and an hour to get to that one, and I have to host one myself just so that we can have one. If I ever really get a chance to go to a major market, then I drive about 4 hours away to go to a major market where a comedy club actually exists. So so when people say you pay your dues by just doing comedy over and over and over again, I'll tell you a lot of my dues has been spent pretending to be a truck driver, driving really long distances. I'll drive 3 hours to do a 10-minute set, and then knowing there's no money in that, turn around and drive 3 hours home. So 6 hours on the road for 10 minutes of showtime is how we pay our dues out here. And I pay a lot of dues. So thank God for Zoom, because it's given me a little bit of a different practice format. I'm in my sunroom talking to somebody in Las Vegas, and that is probably one of the positive things that came out of COVID. You hate to give COVID any credit for anything good, but holy crap, did it connect us in a new way.
I was on Dat Fan's show last night, and you were there, and I heard your set. I thought you were hilarious, and I thought you were the type of person I could connect with. And then when you hit me up today on Facebook Messenger, I thought, hey, I do this interview thing, and you're like, what? And I go, how about if I interview you right now today, and you're game for it, and I'm out of my element, and you're out of your element, and I can't think of a better person to get to promote today. I woke up thinking, what can I do today to make today worthwhile? And really, my days are about helping promote other people. And it has come back to me, like when you innocently, with a pure motive, just want to promote others, it'll come back to you. You don't have to worry about giving away all your power and helping people and not yourself. I've been receiving so much from promoting people like you, and you're exactly who I want to promote. You're a straight up guy. You are a military veteran. You really served. You're really still serving. You're out there in the middle of God knows where, driving hours to do a mic. I can't think of anybody I would get more joy out of bringing to the masses than you.
Yeah, that's my gosh. I don't know how to respond to that, because, like you said, when you're out here, every opportunity that you get, you have to truly create it for yourself and build it from the ground up. So when someone is willing to reach out and help you do that, or shine the light on you in any way, you just want to jump up and down. But like the Dat Fan show, I did it, and I really like that. He runs a great show, and we're all still getting used to that format, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking. But when you go and you have a good time, it's amazing. And you're right. I did not expect to get interviewed this morning. I messaged you just saying, hey, good set. I was friending a couple of comics that I thought was funny. And you said, hey, I do this thing. And oddly enough, I was still in my PJs. I was putting my shoes on to go get donuts for my kid. And you're like, hey, I do this thing. If you have a chance, we can do it in a few minutes. So I ran and got donuts. I came back and I put on my tie, put on my hat, and said, please, let's have a conversation. And here we are, lo and behold, talking to the masses.
When I did interviewing of comedians in Portland, Oregon at Harvey's Comedy Club, I did like 39 comedians there, and then I moved to Vegas, and COVID hit, and I was depressed. You open the door and you just want to shut the door and crawl into the covers again, And I thought, well, I can't let myself, go down that spiral of being depressed. What can I do for others? And Zoom was out there, and I Zoom called. I just tried out Zoom, another comedian here in Vegas, and I could see that I was depressed on the screen, and I could see that she was clearly shook up about the world. And the more we just bantered, the better. By the time we were done with the Zoom thing, we were both cheered up, and that's why I started doing the interviews, is because I'm like Gladys Kravitz on Bewitched. I'm the nosy neighbor that wants to know all my neighbors are okay, and you're one of my neighbors. And so by talking, we get a feel for how each other is doing, and other people get to see comics just talking,
Yeah.
and they get to help promote. And bookers and agents are going to see you and go, "That's the guy I want on my stage." It'll happen.
All right. Well, I certainly hope so. I work the craft. I write as much as well, I don't want to say anybody else, because I think a lot of people write. I think there's a lot of talented people. And I think, I hope to just be the kind of act that somebody wants to put on their stage, because there's a lot of people that get wrapped around doing comedy competitions and things like this, and me versus you and him versus him, or him versus her. And I'm not trying to be better than anybody. I'm trying to be the best I can be. And if I can be the kind of act that somebody wants to put on stage, then I will have met my goal. So I think that's the end goal, is just being somebody that somebody else would like to share with their audience. And if I'm worthy of being shared with a person's audience, then please come find me, put me on your stage and share me. That's it.
Absolutely. So when a booker, agent, or club owner sees this video, tell the truth. What's the amount? What's the best that you are able to do in terms of minutes? Can you go clean? Can you go not clean? Where are you at with your?
All right. If you want me to do a clean show, you can see me probably I've done a clean show up to 45 minutes, but I'll tell you that you probably shouldn't see me more than 30, because I think I hold myself really well, and I have all the material to take me straight up to 45. And if I do audience stuff, I can go all the way up to an hour. But I am strongest if you see me in a 30-minute set, because just my style. I think every bit of my material, regardless of how I mix it up, it's always a great show. And all of it, all the stuff I would put on stage, I'm very proud of, and I think that it always works. But in general, because of the pattern I have, and because I grew up writing in a very particular format, and I have a particular cadence, and I think that my weakness right now is I probably become somewhat predictable in my pattern. You start to see the setup, you start to see exactly what's going on. So after about 35 minutes, people catch on to what I'm doing, and that would probably be a good time to transition to another comic. But I can keep you very interested and very engaged, and maybe not quite sure where I'm coming from for about 35 minutes. But I think my bag of tricks runs out of surprises about that time. So if you see me beyond 40 minutes, you've probably seen about as strong as I can go. And so I think that probably in that 40 to 45 minute frame is, if I'm doing if I'm your headliner, you should look for me for 40 to 45 minutes. If I'm your feature, if I'm a feature, my strongest set, and what I most commonly am hired for, is 25 to 35 minutes.
Perfect. That's your wheelhouse right now. Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So if you're a host, what's your strength in hosting, so they'll know?
All right. My strength in hosting is that, well, there's a whole lot of experience in it. So in general, it's interesting. I will say that comedy clubs, I think that I haven't had a chance to host a lot of those, because I don't live in that environment. I live in a place that has a bar, and I think that my baseball bat might be heavier than the normal host, because I have to walk in, and a lot of times things aren't set up for a comedy club. We don't have the sciences. You go in and they say that the better the sound is, the better the show is, the better the lighting is, the better the show is, the closer the tables to the stage, the better the show is. There's all these things that you're supposed to know. And when I walk into an environment, I have to talk to the owners. I have to say, can I do these things? because it's going to make a better show. I also am the guy who makes people mad, because when I go in and you're at a sports bar, I asked them to turn off all the TVs. I'm the one that just said, hey, that pool table next to the stage, we need to stop that. I will, so I will go in and I'll put 4 quarters on the table, and I'll pay for their game that they're going to play after my show, because at that time it's time to, everything has to stop and everything has to be shifted. So I'm going into a bar and I'm shifting the attention from whatever was going on, and I am saying I'm starting the show. And so I draw the attention to the stage and I open up, whether they are ready to hear comedy or not, and I turn them from a room that was from a normal bar room that was just having drinks to a room that is now paying attention to comedy. And by the end of my 7 minutes, they need to, they're paying attention to me, and they went from whatever they were doing to now being smiling, ready to laugh and be receptive to whatever happens. And then I can introduce my first comic of the evening. So I break a room, I refocus the room, I capture their attention, and I get them ready to laugh. And that's what I do.
That's awesome. You're the right person for everyone to have. So when I put this post out after the interview, we're not done yet, but when I do, I'm going to go and type in there, attention bookers, club owners, and agents. You really want to hire this guy, and watch the video to find out why.
Oh man, that would be awesome. Yeah, I don't know how much longer we're talking, or if this is the wrap up, but this has been awesome so far, and I really appreciate talking to everybody, and I hope that people see that I am genuinely sincere. I have a full-time job. One day I hope that comedy is my full-time job, but teaching for the Air Force is something I really love to do, and love making these students, helping these guys learn and giving them something interesting, and maybe being a little bit funny about it along the way. And then in the evenings, I really do love to travel and make as many people smile and laugh as possible. And if this helps me do that, this helps me make that jump to doing something professional for a large audience somewhere, that would be amazing for me.
I was a corporate trainer at Washington Mutual in the headquarters in Seattle before they went belly up. And I had to teach 7 days of tellering, new accounts, and loans. That was before I did comedy. And I could go probably 5 minutes without punching up and cracking jokes. And,
Yeah.
and it was my joy to keep the students laughing for 7 days.
Isn't that awesome? Because like it's like I said, I do hope to one day be on stage or cruise ships or whatever. But I mean, in a small way, that is a stage all day long. I stand and talk to 16 people at a time for 8 hours at a time, teaching them material that is probably less than riveting, but I do everything I can to, like you said, you punch up everything, you expound on everything. And I have 20 years of stories to expound and help try to make it interesting. So I have a strong base of knowledge to draw from. And I've been doing this, I've been teaching since 2014. And I've learned every possible funny way to say everything that I teach. So I think, in a way, a lot of people say that you need a lot more stage time. Yeah, you say that, but I kind of, in a weird way, have 8 hours of stage time per day.
Thank you. Exactly. People say, how long can you be funny? I don't know, 7 days in a row, evidently. So
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny because a little while ago, in a very humble way, stand-up comedy, can I go and bar fight and capture the attention of a bar for 45 minutes? Yes. But in the environment where I'm teaching, and in the environment where I go to work every day, I do what I got to do to deliver information and be as interesting about it as I possibly can for about 8 hours. And I would say that I'm probably, me dust my shoulder off, but I'm probably their favorite instructor because I do go out of my way to do all that.
yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I can tell that you would be my favorite instructor. Oh my gosh. So talk to me about the veterans of comedy. You sent me a link and said, since I'm a veteran, I should hook, and I'm presently talking with Will and Eric about making contacts for them over the phone, reaching out to veteran groups, etc. So I haven't done comedy for them, but talk to people about veterans of comedy and your involvement, would you please?
Yes, Veterans of Comedy, they're growing slowly but surely as far as like numbers wise. But I think that there's about 30 of us now, and we're spread out all across the United States. And the mission statement of the Veterans of Comedy is simply to entertain the troops and the communities that support them. So that allows them, or not allows them, but definitely puts it in their wheelhouse to be performing at VAs and VFWs and military bases and installations, whether they're reserve or whether they're whatever. So it's there are other organizations that travel all over the world and go into the deployment zones and whatnot, but the troops at home, whether it's the wounded vets or whether it's the people that work here in the United States, that's kind of who they cater to the most. So VFWs, VAs, military installations, but anywhere that the military troops can be found, just because they didn't go overseas doesn't mean they don't get the opportunity or the honor of being entertained by our guys. So I think it's really cool. It's a different mission than going overseas and entertaining the people that are deployed, but the people that and the people that work at the 600 or 700 military installations in the United States. Those are troops too. They signed up, and they'll take their turn overseas eventually. But that doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be entertained. And the Veterans of Comedy are all about that, entertaining the troops at home and the communities that they live in and the communities that support them.
That's so awesome. You know, for about 6.5 years while I've been doing comedy, I've been reaching out to Eric, and I recently interviewed Will C.
Yeah.
And I, as one person, have gone to homeless shelters, under bridges, convalescent homes, VA hospitals, as one military veteran, right? Who's also a patient of the VA hospitals. And I've gone to, BFWs and the like, trying as one person to get in the door to do comedy. It's extremely hard. And I've been bugging Eric for probably at least 5 years. And he came to Vegas about a month ago, and him and I had an extended period of time to bond. And so now I'm so happy because like when you have a little bit of muscle behind you of professionalism and they trust you to do a good job, you can get in more doors. And it's really, I had the VA hospital in Portland, Oregon telling me, we're not going to let you in because we're afraid you'll trigger a veteran. Yeah. I'm like, why do you, if you really care about triggering a veteran, why are we using the term trigger?
Yeah, there's a lot of power in what you just said a minute ago, because like the Veterans of Comedy, having a professional organization that is internationally renowned and has the reputation and has a mission statement, and has all the backing, that really gives you something else to stand on. Instead of saying I'm a comic who happened to have served, you're saying I am one of the Veterans of Comedy, which means I have been vetted, I have been tested, I've been weighed and measured, and I have been found to be the kind of person that you want to hire, because I have the experience, I have the shared experience and the shared culture and the ability to talk to these guys as one of them, but also as a comic, and make it fun and enjoyable for everybody. So I think that having that organization behind you, or that professional renowned group, it walks you through a lot of doors. Even VFWs, when I tell them I'm a comedian who was in the Air Force, no dice. But if I tell them I'm one of the Veterans of Comedy, you'd be surprised. I'm doing, it allows me the opportunity to perform for VFWs and the organizations that they're connected to. I recently performed for Serenity Villages out of the Dallas, Texas area, and what they do is they actually have put together a community small houses, which is transitional houses for veterans moving towards restabilizing and recapturing their lives. And that is and there's all types of organizations like that that are doing great things for veterans. And being a comedian that is able to go out and entertain and be a part of that, even if it's in a fundraising sense or it's a morale building type of situation, this is the type of thing that I really want to be involved in. And the Veterans of Comedy has given me at least a respected brand that I can cite that walks me right into those doors. So whether I'm touring with my brothers in the Veterans of Comedy, or whether I'm just using the label to let me walk in and give me the kind of reputation that I need to get into those doors, I've been empowered to do some really, really cool things for the people that I want to be doing things for.
Super. So as one human being, getting a gig is hard. It's been really taxing, and I've gone away crying many times from getting rejected as one person. It's going to be so great for me. I've done comedy for one veteran at a time and 1,000 at a time, and I have to tell you, doing it for one person, the most rewarding.
Oh, no.
It sounds great to say you did comedy for 1,000 people, but that one person that I made laugh, I'll never forget.
Oh, that's that's awesome. And I think that when I first started comedy, small crowds made me nervous and frightened me a little bit, because it's very personal and it's very like, okay, they laugh or they don't laugh, and they don't feel free to laugh necessarily because they're with each other. I had all these weird sciences in my head. But now I would say in COVID times, this year particularly, I've become a lot less nervous in front of small crowds. I mean, I go in and there's 4 people and I give them the whole show as if there is 400 people. So generally, I'm used to performing in front of 40 to 100 people. I've performed in front of about 400 or 500 people, but now I've performed in front of 4 to 8 people. And I now find it just as enjoyable. I know from the promoters and the club perspective, 8 people is not nearly as cool, but you're not going to rehire you for that kind of draw. But for that moment that you're on stage and you're connecting with those, even down to one person, if they're falling out of their chair, they're laughing, or you've just made a connection and you've made them smile and forget about their worries, you've done your job as a comedian. And it is, but not only as a comedian, but as a person. You walked up to that person who was having a shit day and you turn their day, even if it's only for the next 20 to 25 minutes, into something that they will never forget, because you wouldn't believe what that guy said to me. And he tells that at the water cooler, or he tells it the next weekend, and they make somebody else smile. So even if you only made one person laugh, if you genuinely gave them something to hold on to, they told that to probably 4 or 5 other people. So your audience of one has slowly told it to all his buddies. And next thing you know, 60 people have laughed at your joke, and you've brightened the day at the water cooler. You've brightened the day on the construction site. You've brightened the day everywhere that person has gone, if you gave them something to smile about that they will hold on to. And your joke, even though you only told it to one person, might end up being the joke that he tells into his old age over the dinner table or with his buddies at work until well into retirement. And I think that's awesome, because just telling a joke or making one person smile might bleed into the making people smile over the next 20 years.
Wow, that's inspiring. What is it you want to accomplish before you pass on? If you're gonna pass away, I don't know that you will, but
before I pass away, I think it's like real life things or comedy things. No, real life.
I want to be on the stage at Madison Square, but I can't even say it. Madison Square Garden.
No, oh man, that is that's awesome. And I think that I would really like to be on that stage, but really the stages I want to be on is, there are groups that have there are groups that tour all over the place and go to military installations and go to the places. And that's what I want. I want to be professional. I want to, at some point, be able to not change my lifestyle. I don't want to be a starving anything. I don't want to be a starving artist. That's why I still have a very good job that I've worked 20 years to ensure that I have. But if at some point comedy can take over that level of lifestyle, and I don't have to make my family suffer or anything in that way to try and support a starving artist, I would like to do this full time. But the real thing I want to do is at some point, I want to do a USO tour. I want to be the guy who's going to the various bases, doing all the things that when, that that the military members for half a second get to come see. So Madison Square Gardens, yeah, okay, that's the big dream. However, the thing that I really want to do before it's all said and done is I want to have the kind of reputation that when I come to a base, people are like, yeah, we should go see Chris Crawford. I've heard of him. I've seen him. We should go see what he's got. And they come and they have a good time. And that's something that they'll always remember. Do you remember that one comic that came to see us when we were in the middle of God knows nowhere, doing the things that none of us want to do? That guy was really funny. I hope to see him again someday. I hope he makes it. Yeah, so I do want to make it, but I want to make it first big enough that troops and people want to see me. I want to do USO tours, and I want to be, so that might be the case. Be famous enough that when you go to a USO tour, people are happy to see you. So I guess that's the answer. I don't have a particular stage I want to be on, but I need to be well known enough that when I walk into a military installation, that they're not just going and thinking, oh, they have comedy tonight. I want them to think, oh my gosh, we should go see Chris Crawford. And I want that to be a highlight for them on their tour. If they're somewhere in God knows where for 90 days, I want them to remember, oh, do you remember the USO tour? Chris Crawford came. And that's what I want.
That's so cool. You're an inspiration. You give me body tingly feeling when you're talking. You're so inspiring.
Well, I hope that's true.
Yeah.
Number one, tingles and goosebumps are always fun, but I think just in general, I want to be somebody. I want to be able to provide a living for me and my family, hopefully making other people happy. But definitely, if I get a chance to do a USO tour, that would probably be, if I got to do nothing else and I was no more famous than that ever in my life, a chance to do a USO tour and leave a really good mark, be good enough that I leave a really good mark on somebody for any real amount of time. That's what I want.
Well, you've left a real mark on my heart today, because I don't take it lightly when I get tingly from something somebody says, because you've touched my heart.
Well,
You've inspired my heart.
well, awesome. Well, I guess touching somebody's heart and giving them tingles, it's hard for that not to be the climax of the show. I think that we only fall off after that. So I'm glad that you feel like I touched you in a nice, and
You did. You absolutely
touched
did.
you in a good way and gave you goosebumps. But no, I am 100% sincere in what I say, because this isn't, I'm not a starving artist. I'm not looking for, I know that I have not made the jump to, this is how I put dinner on my table. And I realize I don't want to take work from anybody, but if I have the chance to make a whole lot of people happy, particularly meeting my goal of being famous enough to do a USO tour and people look forward to seeing me, that's my goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's how I'm going to promote it, for people to get behind you and book you, and to listen to the video of the things you want to accomplish in your comedy life.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
So when we get off of here, I'm going to type my afterthoughts and what I just told you. And if you will share it once I get my verbiage on it, I would so appreciate it.
Oh, I sure will. Thank you, ma'am.
And send me some pictures, please, so I can make a slideshow to promote you as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I got to know you. Now, before we go, what I like to just throw out there is, you can have up to 5 minutes to do whatever you like with the end of this video, or you can say I pass. If there's any question I didn't ask, or any question you're going, I didn't really say what I wanted to say there, or if you just want to tell a few jokes, or say, a little bit more about your childhood, or a little bit more about your decision in comedy, anything I didn't cover, you have the floor, or you can say I pass, whatever you want to do here.
No, I think that we've said most of it. I don't really want to try and do a stand-up bit right now because I really want to present myself and tell people that um, I do this. I mean, I do it a lot. I've had a chance to be in front of a lot of people. I've made a lot of people laugh. I do it sincerely because I want to make people laugh, and I enjoy the feeling I get when other people, particularly if I see people that are there to try and wash off a bad day. If you're in a funk, and I have found a way to make you smile, you don't even have to fall out of your chair. If you smile and we have made a connection, and you walk out thinking this was a good time, that's what I want. And I care about joy, and I care about making people smile and making people laugh. And most of all, just getting people out of the funk. Because if you had a bad day and I somehow made you forget about that bad day for even a minute, I think that I've done my job. So I don't want to tell jokes today. I just want to tell you that I really do care about what I do. I put a lot of work into what I do. And when I'm on stage, I really try and make all that work pay off, not for me, but for you, because I don't forget that this isn't for me. This is for you. If I make you smile, and that is my reward. And that's the selfish part of it, is when you smile or when you laugh, that is my payday. So if I tell you a joke and you think it's clever, I don't know, maybe smile at me. I think that helps. Don't hold your, let yourself laugh. That's my message to the people, is probably let yourself laugh. It's very easy to go in there and cross your hands and look at somebody that you've never heard of and go, I hope this is going to be funny. And then, but if you go in there with the intent that you're going to hear something funny, because they work hard, they write, they do the things I do anyway, and I'm going to do my best to give you, to brighten your day. So if you just listen to the words I have to say, come have a good time, and have the intentions of having a good time, I think that I can help you have a great moment. So let's do that. Let's just try to be happy. I'm going to try and help you be happy. If you come and you want to be happy, we're going to have a great time. That's it.
So great. Thank you so much, Mr. Inspiration. That's your new name. Just gave it to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chris Crawford, everybody. Listen, the reason that I'm even doing this is so other people can tell you who they are, so you can get to know, like, trust them, and support them. That's the whole point of being on here. Sure, I get to know that we're both okay and hear their life story, but it's so that you can get to know them. So now that you know Chris Crawford, find him and support him on social media, find out where he's going to be performing, and you know, this is a great guy for you to get behind. You've heard his heart here. So where can people find you, Chris Crawford, on the internet?
So on Instagram, I'm christopher.m.crawford1, as in the number one. And I guess you can go to chriscrawfordscomedy.com. And you can usually see, well, pre-COVID, you can see that I had a pretty good little schedule going. Post-COVID, I've not been updating it quite as much because most of it is on Zoom and doing things like this. And then again, pop-up shows where I'll entertain really small groups. So I would say that if you want to learn about what I've done, see my full resume, see the various organizations that I've worked for or been a part of, then I would say chriscrawfords.com is the place to go. If you want to see a video of me, look for me on YouTube. I have videos out there, and if you are looking to see me, see just where I share my photos and my conquests, I guess we'll call them conquests, but you know, the various posters that my face appears on, because that's pretty much what goes on there, you can go to my Instagram. And that was christopher.m.crawford1.
Say that again.
Christopher.m.crawford1. That's my IG. When it comes to my website, it's chriscrawfordscomedy.com.
Will you do me a favor and type all those in a Facebook message, and then I'll add them to this post as well?
Yep, I sure will.
Thank you so much, Chris Crawford, you guys. I can't wait. I can't wait for you to be so well known that when you go to a USO place in God knows where, that they say exactly what you said. Let's go see him. I've heard he's funny.
All right. That's what I want. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, Chris Crawford.